Lesley.
Hi.
Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Lesley Martin. I live in southern Portugal in the Algarve. I teach permaculture and I make soap.
In your opinion, what is permaculture?
It's quite difficult to define, but I suppose a fairly short definition is that it is about designing sustainable human habitat in sympathy with the nature around us.
And what do you have to say to people that has just discovered permaculture?
I would say that if you find you're interested, then you should go and take a permaculture course and find out more. There are lots of very good teachers around.
What does permaculture has to teach to Portugal?
I think it will remind a lot of the Portuguese of what they actually know already. I think for many centuries they've been treating the planet very well. We've just temporarily forgotten, and maybe they just need a reminder.
How can the principles of permaculture help in the relationship between man and nature?
I think because maybe not so much the principles, but talking about the ethics which are basically earth care, people care and surplus share, teach us to respect all forms of life on this planet. So I think if people actually adhere to those ethics, then they're actually going to be looking after nature in the way that it deserves and needs from our own safety point of view. We need each other. And that's it.
How can these teachings connect the young and the old people?
I think because permaculture teaches that everybody has something of value to offer. And it always was in the old days. We never dismissed our old people, and we always took great care of the young, and nowadays we send the young to nursery schools and we put the old people in old people's homes. Perhaps we ought to be putting them together and solving two situations at the same time. They always were the teachers of the young in the old days.
What is the responsibility of a permaculturist?
I think to take responsibility for themselves and work out from that.
Is the permaculture of today the same that Bill Mollison invented?
No, I think it's changed. The basics are the same, but I think it's changed an awful lot in the time because different people are applying their permaculture, and I think nobody's permaculture is exactly the same. And the teaching changes all the time as well because we just learn more and more about natural systems and how we interact with them. So many things that were taught before, we perhaps now feel that we've moved on a little from there and we can teach something beyond it. So it should always be changing, I think. So automatically it's much different from the permaculture that Morrison taught.
Why so different people get connected?
I think when they have a basic, what's the word? A basic belief in the fact that we really need to do something about the state of the planet, and it's becoming more and more common. I think people tend to look for like-minded people and get together with them because they feel safer and because they feel that maybe when there are more people acting together, they have more chance to do something about it.
Will the peak oil take us to a new level of conscience?
I think it could certainly change things. I once went on a seminar which was nothing to do with permaculture, but the man who was teaching the seminar was talking about. He was an anthropologist. He works with the Indian tribes in the rainforest, Brazilian rainforest. And somebody said to him, "Do you think people are going to suddenly get sensible?" He was actually talking about the destruction of the rainforest and stop all these practices. And he actually said, "No, I don't think so." He said, "I think it's going to take a major disaster to shake us all up so that we're forced to do something about it." And maybe peak oil might do that.
How can we help the people in transition?
I think by demonstrating in our own lives the ethics and principles of permaculture, by showing them the way, really, and encouraging them to learn everything they can that will help them move forward in their own lives.
Permaculture talks a lot about design. What's the importance of it?
The importance of design is that it enables us to put together a number of energy efficient strategies so that we can supply human needs without actually degrading natural resources.
Is silence the revolution?
I think the best way forward is actually just to quietly get on with your own things, and maybe in that, by doing that, you attract people to inquire about exactly what it is you're up to. I don't think there's any need for going out and thrusting permaculture in other places, so I think a silent sort of revolution would be quite nice. We just do what we feel we have to do, and other people are going to say, "Hey, what are you up to? That looks interesting." Then you can explain. But permaculture isn't about preaching to people. It's about actively doing it yourself. And then a lot of other things follow on from that.
You are a pioneer. Would you like to live in a different time?
No. I think this is perhaps one of the most exciting ages that man will ever live in. I think all the excitement, all the interesting. A time of change, for me, is exciting. And this, I think, is a time of change. Now, I wouldn't want to live in another age. There have been other times of change, but this one is just as good, if not better, than all the rest of them.
How can permaculture be everything?
How can permaculture be everything? Whoa. Because I think to be everything, it's not so much to be everything, I think it connects everything. Yes, the important thing about permaculture. It teaches us that, in fact, nothing is isolated, that everything is, in fact, connected, and it teaches us to look for those connections. So, in that sense, permaculture shows us everything, perhaps, is another way of putting it. All right? All right.
And how can we get away from fundamentalism?
I think by always being open to change. I think we should never get fixed in our opinions. I think we shouldn't fix on so-called facts. I think we should always be prepared to learn. I think we should always be prepared to change our minds. When we find new information that makes some of the old information look a little bit dodgy, then I think we should be prepared to admit that maybe we have been wrong, and move forward from that and be prepared to change. That way There's no way you can be a fundamentalist. You know, there's no dogma in permaculture. There shouldn't be any dogma in permaculture.
What means the problem is the solution?
The problem is the solution is one of the principles of permaculture, which actually points out to us that actually when we perceive something as a challenge or a problem, if we change our perception about it, it will almost certainly turn out to be an opportunity to do something completely different. So we just change it round. It's like the is this glass half full or is it half empty business.
In what way is permaculture inclusive?
It's inclusive, certainly in the sense that everybody can practice it. It isn't a club. You don't have to pay to be a member. You just have to start, make a simple few steps forward, and you're there. You're connected to everybody else. So in that sense, it's inclusive. There isn't any kind of secret society. There's no joining fee. You don't have to sign any contracts. You just start, and that's it. You're in. And as I said before, it's about all the connections. It includes everything. Some people describe it as a holistic approach to creating a place for ourselves on this planet, looking at all the aspects of natural life, of our own psychological being, how we interact with nature out there, how we interact with each other. And in that sense, it's creating networks between us and nature, between us and other people. There is a scientist who developed some theories about the Maphonic web, Rupert Sheldrake, and he says just everything is quite demonstrably connected. So anything you do could affect that pebble over there, So everything belongs to this network. We're all included. We're all there.